Okay, here's a look at the markets for Wednesday, January the 25th, 2017. A good up movement here in the E-mini S&P overnight. It basically started right where it had closed. Um, and we did move through that 80-50 area here, which was yesterday's high. You can see this was more or less when the European session started, so good conviction there. It really started from down here, as you can see the one-time frame buying here. It did dip a little bit back below it, back above it, test it again, and then finish off with a good run up. So some good buying strength continuing in the E-mini S&P overnight. You can see it here what we ended up with today. Even though we did close back down below 77 yesterday, we obviously had the good move up with the continuation of the buying from yesterday into the overnight session and into where today opened. And you can see that we did open with a gap. It dipped a little bit, but then it started to rally again and had a good move up, closing up there around the 93 area. So the bull market continues. You can see here the break from the horizontal here yesterday, a little bit of the pullback, and I mentioned this in the webinar today. We did have a bit of excess here, and that was that 80-50 area that we just took a look at. When that excess was totally erased and the market started to move above it, obviously a very bullish sign if you were trading in the overnight market at that time. And here you can see it on the 10-minute chart. It really just continued to make higher highs and higher lows all the way up to here, and getting up there. I think the high today was about 95.20. Yeah, 95.25. So I'm using looking at that last dip at 90.25. It's the first support, and then the next one down there at 87.50, and we've got a nice gap here to work with too. And the top of that right here is at 84.25. So taking a look here at the early going, we were in the webinar this morning and it was very quiet. We went kind of back and forth inside this blue bar here, as you can see, and then it started to move above it, came back down and tested it a little bit later, another new high, but then we got some half decent selling coming in here, as you can see, and we wanted to monitor to see, could it get could it stay above here or could it stay above here? And when it did come in, it tested in this area, got within a tick or so of it, and then started to move back above where this movement of selling had started. And as you can see, first probed above it, and then of course here we actually went above it. Came back down and tested that key area a couple of times here. This last one here gave us a nice entry with that decel bar, quickly having its high taken out at a known area of support, and you can see our software here was establishing that when it had flipped over, and then we went up and made new highs. So this is the main support. We've got a good opportunity there today, getting long, and hopefully tomorrow too, still using it as support. So. There's one sort of flag that we had here. I know that we were talking in the webinar that when you get into a vertical up condition like this, you're really looking to see if can there be any rejection of selling. We did have this magenta bar here. We had no rejection of it. And then we got the wave down here, and then it took a little bit of time to get the rejection of that, and then that basically held for the rest of the day. So that's really what we're looking at when we get into these vertical conditions, either a go-with type of scenario on a pullback of good buying. And of course, we had that. Well, we sort of had, I mean, it came within, what, 3 ticks with there. Another blue bar here came within, well, it hit it right on the dot. We didn't have any other blue bar here to really focus on, but those are the opportunities that we had on a go-with kind of scenario as opposed to an exhaustion of selling within the context of the vertical up market. The crude here didn't really do much from a longer frame perspective, if you will. We did have the news today, so we're getting some more consolidation in here, as you can see. Market had that good move up and then it came all the way back down but did not make a new low. So this was interesting here in that we had a much lower opening, about $6, I think, from here to here. Not $6, I'm sorry. I was saying of the gold. It moved from around 53 down here to about 52.80, so it's about 20 cents. It did have that sell-off here, and then it rallied just prior to the news being released. And we were talking at that time with the sell-off here, very nice magenta bar, but obviously no follow-through because its high got taken out. It got taken out once here and decelerated, came back down into here, and then really exploded. And we were looking at this area as kind of the next target, and it did reach up there. And then we did get some selling to come in here. A bit of follow-through on that selling. This is the first bit of, sort of legitimate selling follow-through that we had. We did have, some here, but it was light aggression. This one was a level 2 with follow-through. I was expecting right in here when we were in the webinar, likely active support. It didn't quite get down there, and then we had the bounce. But as you can see, the bounce could not take it back up above here. It stalled in here, kind of went sideways for a bit, but once this blue bar had its low taken out, I really thought it was going to really sell off at this point. It did not. And then, bounced back up again. But then once that was taken out, it really took a nice leg down, thinking that this would be the next target. It really didn't stop there. This being the next target, and it almost got there, but not quite. So I really think that this area right in here needs to get tested, 5260 area. We've got, I think, good resistance here and in here. But longer term basis, I still like the crude more than I don't. However, it does get below 51.45. I've changed my mind on that. But I would take a look to see if I think we should, in quotes, as I often say, get some follow through here. And overnight for that market to, sell off down in here and get down below that 52.60. If it doesn't do that at all overnight, look for it to possibly do it early tomorrow morning. If it doesn't do it that, or if it gets rejected from that, then we're, likely to get another leg higher. But the fact that the market had, obviously very good selling in here and then very good buying in here, and then come all the way back down below this level here, on a short-term basis, you got to think that that's kind of bearish, and so that's why I'm looking for follow-through lower to test into this area below 52.60 to see whether or not we can actually get that next leg down to 51.45. As far as the gold was concerned, we had a nice gap open lower, and it did get back down. We were talking about testing this earlier low here, because when you take a look at that, I was talking about this high here, and this low, and then this high. So you got sort of this triangulation effect that we were talking about in the webinar today. And if this can get taken out and hold below it, that's very bearish. So you can see it only dipped below it here early in the day and had a really nice rally from there. It did come back later and dip again, but I think this is the key price here at 94.50, 94. I've got 95.40. I'm sorry. This is the low rate here, 95.40. 94.40 is this high rate in here. So let me just clear that off again. So this was the key price that we were looking at, 1195.40 right here. You can see it did dip below it, and then had a nice rally, came back down as I said, and then closed above it. So I think that's the key area, we've come basically halfway from the sell-off to the low here, and we'll just have to wait and see if this market can actually start to accept price below here, or is it going to get back up into this area. So when we take a look here at the profile, we had a couple of days where it stalled up in there. This is 2 days, this is 2 days, and this is 2 days, and now we've come below this value and basically held below it. So it's another bearish sign. This is the low I was referring to, where the market tested below it. So when you take a look at it on the profile basis, you've got this kind of triangle situation up in here, and then you've got if the market can get below this level here, it's very, very bearish. We got rejected from that. You can even see that we ended up with some single prints here. So I'm still looking at support in there until proven otherwise. You can see it here. Here's the 2-minute chart of the gold. So we had, I'll just 95.40. I'll just put it right in here. This is the level that we're looking at to monitor. Obviously, gap opening lower, about $6. And no lift at all. No rejection off of selling, and then a nice wave down, a pause, another wave down, a pause, another wave down. We didn't get the pause this time. It started to rally, and this is where we found it to be interesting when this blue bar overlapped the key price here at 95.40, dipped into it here, had a nice bounce up, and we were thinking at that time it could come up and test into here and find some resistance, and it did. We actually got a red bar here, and it did come back down to the support area here as it reached that 95.40 there. Almost, I think it was like right on the dot. Then we had the other leg higher here, and it got up very, very close to the next area of resistance here, around 12.01, and once again sold off. Now this selling off was a little stronger than this one for sure. It did go back down below the 95.40, and we did form a very aggressive high velocity move. So I think for now we need to monitor right in here. Is this going to continue to act as resistance or not? If this holds overnight, then we're going to take a look at, testing back down into here, which is the support at this time, whether it can get back down there below 1194.40. And if it does, then we're going to have another leg down. If not, then look for the market to move back up into this area here around 12.01. So, but a powerful day down that found support at an area we thought it could very well do that. But it gave it a couple of tests of it. I mean, if the buyers are really strong, they would start to rally it like they did here. So that was good. And this was good. That's legitimate. But for it to come up to here and then pull back all the way to here and not get back above here is somewhat disconcerting on the side of the bulls, because when you have a market that sells off really hard and spends a little bit of time below the next support and gets rejected, but then there's no follow through. Now, I'm not saying this one we did have some follow through, because obviously, to move from this here area up to this area, that's a pretty good move. What was that? It's about $5 or more. That's a pretty good move. However, it did not take out this area of resistance. So we really need to take out this one and then take out this one for the market to really say, okay, we're good to go to the upside. So in the meantime, we just got to be a little bit cautious here and see if the market's actually going to move above this area in here, roughly 98.50. And if it can move above there and stay above there, that's going to be a bullish thing. Just be careful if for whatever reason it does come down back below the 95 area or so, just be on the lookout that we're likely to get another wave lower. But all in all, a pretty good day. I mean, we were thinking that after this, because we're in the webinar when this is happening, because of course the gold opens really early. So we're thinking that when it did break through here and just came and tested and have a nice move up, and then came back down here. This is just as we were ending the webinar. It came right back down to support, thinking, you could have a good long trade in here. I think I mentioned with a stop just below the low of this blue, and had a nice good rally, a nice rally from 95.5 up to about 12.01. But as I said, I think this sell-off is somewhat disconcerting for the bulls. Needs to get back up here to structurally sort of show its stuff. Anyway. I want to thank everybody who was able to make it to the webinar today. I always appreciate your attendance and your input. So that'll be it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow.